Hello, I'm Katie Harrison, and this is Stepmum Space, where each episode we'll talk candidly about the fairy tales and scary tales of stepmum life. So whether you've been a stepmum for years, you're just starting out, or you want to understand the stepmum in your life a little bit better, this is the place for you. Now, for the final episode of this series, I decided it would be interesting to do something a little bit different. So today I'm talking to Kate Hunter. Now, Kate is an executive coach who specialises in mindset work and using your mindset to get the best out of yourself and the best for yourself in all sorts of situations. Kate works predominantly with female leaders, but as someone who is in a relationship with somebody with children herself, she understands the highs and lows of stepmotherhood very well. Now, before recording this episode, I reached out to you guys via Instagram and was inundated with brilliant questions for Kate. We couldn't cover them all, so there will need to be a part 2 in the future, but in this chat we talk about a myriad of topics, from thought audits to rewiring your brain to managing those ugly emotions like jealousy, anger and resentment. Spoiler alert, don't call them ugly in the first place. And we also talk about maximising your own happiness in spite of the situations you may find yourself in. Turns out we have a lot more control than we think. I took an awful lot from this conversation and I know you will too. Hi Kate, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Katie. It's absolutely brilliant to be here. I'm just excited to provide some value as somebody who's been through this, but also is qualified, as you say, and trained in working with the mindset as well. So how do you get the most out of your mindset and working for you in this situation?
Yeah, and it's so important because we know that as stepmums, we suffer twice as much anxiety and depression as biological mums or any other family members. So I think kind of how we manage our mind to be able to be at our best and to kind of be resilient enough to cope with all the challenges that step parenting brings up is super important. So I am very, very excited about this chat. I know I'm going to learn an awful lot along the way. So look, I'm going to jump straight in. One of the questions that came up quite a lot actually is about anticipatory anxiety. So a lot of women, myself included, actually have experienced sometimes they'll feel really anxious about the stepchildren coming either at the weekend or whenever they're coming, and they'll worry a lot about what might go wrong, or they'll worry about something that they have to have a conversation with their partner about or their ex about, and that anticipatory anxiety can really overwhelm you. So have you got any tips for managing that?
Absolutely. The first and foremost is kind of really understanding what anxiety is. Okay, so once you understand and you build awareness around that, you can kind of really work with it, because ultimately our anxiety and the anxiety that we feel in our bodies is a chemical response within our brains. Okay, so we've probably all heard about the fight, flight, freeze response, but that only comes forward once we have been thinking in a certain way that is creating the feelings within our bodies that then creates the chemical response. So it all begins at this thought level. So we've all had a scenario where we have started to imagine situations that are going to come up, and then we start to feel differently. So for me, years ago, I used to always have these imagined scenarios, even imagined conversations, rehearsals of things when I was in the shower, would you believe? So it was that space and time where everything was quiet, and then all those worries would come forward. So often when you have those moments of pauses, maybe just before you go to sleep, or you're out driving, or you're in the shower, suddenly all those kind of worry thoughts come forward and they start to take charge. So what we need to do is we need to understand that your thoughts create your feelings and create the way that you behave. So if we can start to think about and raise awareness at the thought level of what's going on, we can start to intercept how we feel and prevent this anxiety from occurring. Okay. Now, anxiety isn't something to be feared. And this is another thing that works with anxiety, is that kind of fear that goes on. Again, when we are thinking unhelpful thoughts, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in this situation? I remember the last time when they came and this happened, and then we replay certain situations. And it's the unhelpful thoughts that start to create the chemical response within our body. Because our subconscious mind does not know the difference between imagined and reality. And so that's really important to understand. So every time we're thinking something, we are telling our brain that this is a threat that we need to be afraid of. This is something that we need to prepare for, that is going to happen, that we're not going to like. And so the body kicks in with stress hormones, more chemicals released that make us feel this anxiety at a physical level and at an emotional level and at a mental level. Okay, so the tip is to really start to build that awareness first. So mindset is about three things. It's about awareness, it's about choice, and it's about habits. So at the awareness level, if you are not aware of your thought processes, if you are not aware of which unhelpful thoughts are really starting to build this anxiety in you, you can't therefore make the right choices or the most healthy choices for you and build the habits that are going to help you. So we start with awareness. And what I get my clients to do as well is to go, okay, so in thinking about, so for this example, the stepchildren coming, what are the exact precise thoughts that are coming up in your mind in those 24 hours, 48 hours before they're coming? And I actually get my clients to do a thought audit.
Mm-hmm.
So actually get a journal, get a bit of paper, whatever, and start to free flow write exactly as the words come out without judgment, right? No one's judging these thoughts. No one has to see them even. It's just for you. Mm. But we have to have awareness of the words that are being used and the thoughts that are being thought in order to intercept them. So go for it. Have a field day. Get a piece of paper, write down your thoughts and get them out there. Step away from them, come back and have a look at them and start to ask yourself, are these helpful?
And what about, so this is brilliant. And I'm just kind of thinking about a few women that I've spoken to this week who I know have this kind of issue going on. They might write down, my stepchildren are going to ignore me. I'm going to feel uncomfortable in my own home, or my partner's going to change into a Disney dad and be a completely different person. And obviously that hasn't happened yet, but that assumption is based on months of that happening kind of every week. How do you get around that? Because the likelihood is that these women will be thinking, well, of course it will happen again because it always does.
I believe that our kind of outer reality is also a reflection of what we expect, right? So the more we expect things to happen, the more they will happen. And there's actually a part of our brain called the reticulating activating system, or the RAS for short, which will start looking for the examples and filter through the examples of what you are looking for. So a really simple, basic example of that is, right, when you want to go and buy a new car, right, and you start to do the research on what car you want, and you decide I'm going to go with a white Kia Sportage, and you go, oh yeah, I'm doing all my research, I'm interested in it, and that's what I'm going to buy. And suddenly you go out on the road and every car you pass is a white Kia Sportage, right? It's the same with day-to-day evidence and examples. So the reticulating activating system has to filter all sensory information in your world, like sounds, noise, words. So it's always going to filter through what it thinks is most important to you at that time.
Right.
So to relate this back to what you've just said, if you have had a couple of examples, and maybe they have happened previously, but also remember that if you expect that to happen next time, that's what your brain is going to be filtering the information for. So it's going to show you every facial expression. It's going to show you every word that you want to magnify in on. It's going to show you every example of where he's being the Disney dad. And so we start to build that reality and reinforce our beliefs and our fears.
That's kind of a bit like law of attraction, I guess.
It is a little bit, it's on a chemical level. So it's on actually a scientific neuroscience level. So it is like law of attraction, but it's also proven at a neuroscience level that this is actually happening in that part of our brain. So why don't we get that working for us? Why don't we wire the reticulating activating system to start to look for what is more positive and more realistic? So one of the things that I want to encourage listeners to do is to Once you built that awareness of that thought and those repeated thoughts, oh, this always happens, I remember last time, and then that happened, and then this caused this argument, is to not let that drama completely go to the nth degree. So you have to intercept it. So when you notice it, you just say, stop, enough.
Out loud or in your head?
Out loud or in your head, wherever you are, right? Some people literally say, enough. I say it out loud to myself. I have to admit, I say often, enough, stop. And that's enough of a pause for me to go, what is more realistic here? One of the best self-coaching questions I can encourage you to ask is, what is more realistic here? Because when our inner drama queen is engaged, she will show you all the reasons and give you all of the past experiences. But what is that going to equal? That's going to equal feelings that you don't want. It's going to equal the anxiety. It's going to equal more build-up, more pain, more discomfort than actually going to, right, I'm going to stop this sooner this time. So stop, enough, breathe. What is more realistic here? What could other options be here?
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of just kind of not letting your thoughts spiral out of control and not start being unhelpful for you. Really interesting. So hopefully there's something there that people can do. I've got kind of this vision of stepmoms waking up every Friday morning going, enough, to themselves.
Yeah. Give your inner drama queen a name if you want. You go, enough, you're not in charge anymore. I'm choosing again. And that's why I say mindset is about awareness, choice, and habits. Because once you become aware of how you are not helping yourself and supporting yourself with regards to your mindset, you then have a choice, right? And as human beings, we always want a choice in things. We don't want to feel like the victim. We don't want to feel like we're out of control. We don't want to feel like we're being carried away by something. But remembering that we have a responsibility for that as well, so we can choose again.
Yeah, I love that idea of automatically like challenging your own thinking, because I think you can often feel very done to as a step parent. And I think there's a lot of women who feel like, but I don't have a say. Like, I don't have a say what goes on in my home. I have another woman, not of my choosing, telling me what should be happening in my home. And that can be really difficult. So the next question, which came up many times, is how can you manage your own feelings when you feel out of control of your own life? And that might be about, you want to go away for the weekend with friends, including your partner, but you're not able to because you've got the kids and the ex won't swap weekends with you. Or it might be about, I want to make this change in my home, but stepchildren often have more of a say than biological children. So how can we help people manage those emotions around feeling out of control?
I love this because it flows on nicely from the previous question. And it is, again, about, there's kind of two scenarios. So there's the emergency quick fix, right? So I'm feeling out of control. I'm feeling really out of control. I'm feeling a bit panicky. And what do I do here in this situation? Because it's escalating. And for that kind of emergency quick fix, again, it's like intercept where you are. So stop, enough. And then it's reconnecting with your breath. And we hear this over and over again, but just to explain that just briefly, just if you breathe, if you just go, right, enough, be still. 3 deep breaths are enough to kickstart what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so there's 2 main nervous systems, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is the one that we exist in when we're working, we're doing, we're on the go, we're dialing up on those unhelpful thoughts. It's a real go, go, go system.
So it's not very sympathetic.
It's not very sympathetic, is it? It's a bit ironic. And actually what we want to be able to access when we want to calm ourselves down and feel more in control, we want to access this parasympathetic system, which is also called rest and digest. Because with that, it ignites the front part of our brain, which is called the prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking part of our brain, right? We need to step away from this feeling of I'm being carried away from life and I have no control and things are spiraling. So become aware, step 1. Step 2 is breathe. 3 deep breaths is enough to signal to your body, I'm moving into rest and digest now. This is all good. And then the third thing is again, these emergency quick fixes, is reach for a higher thought. So gratitude, if you can get to there, something you appreciate or something that is going well and something that you're doing well. And sometimes that thought might just be, I am safe. I am doing the best that I can calm you down before you then start to move into, okay, so what is the situation here? What am I really feeling out of control with?
And did that thought, when you're looking for the thought to calm you down, does it have to be related to the situation? Or could you be thinking about, do you know what, I'm doing a really good job at my place of work, or I'm really looking forward to going away with my friends? Or
it can be anything, because what it's doing is it is getting you to focus, again, the reticulating activating system, right? It's saying, I want you to work.
That's RAS, right?
It's RAS. Get your RAS working.
I'm down with all these. I'm learning a lot. This is great.
By reaching for appreciation or gratitude, you're literally, and on a brain scan, it would be showing up little light pockets starting to go ping, 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 ping. And you are accessing more of your brain, right? And you are starting to say, everything is well, remembering that your subconscious is always listening. Even by saying, I am safe, I am calm, your subconscious believes it. Did you know if you put a smile on your face, right, literally if it's fake or not, because you've ignited the muscles on your face, your brain starts to go, oh, she's smiling. Oh, brilliant. We'll kind of release those feel-good hormones.
Does that work even if you're smiling sort of through clenched teeth?
If you can relax your body a little bit more, that's probably more suitable. I know the scenario you're thinking then of. It's like, you're kind of there with your stepkids and situations arisen and you're like, clenching a smile here. But yes, if you can kind of relax your body a bit more and you do smile, but it's just to show you that there are little hacks in accessing different parts of your brain that will help you reach the place you want to get to quicker. Now, the next step along from that is, if you're really feeling out of control with your life, is to, again, get it out of your head, right? Don't let it all fester in there and ruminate. It's actually get it down, and you could speak to somebody, or you can get it down on paper. My favorite thing to do is get everything out on black and white. Just get it out on paper. There's a process for me in the way that I connect with pen and paper, but some people might want to jot it down onto a laptop or something. List everything out that's bothering you, that is making you feel out of control. And then you start to say to yourself, right, what is within my control? And you highlight it with a specific colour. And then look at those remaining things. And then you say, what is truly out of my control here? What have I got no control over whatsoever?
Something that will come up a lot for stepmoms is what the ex-wife says about me.
Absolutely. That is completely out of your control, right? Because you cannot be in charge of somebody else's behaviours, thoughts, words, etc. But for me, that's about getting very clear for yourself who you are and what you stand for, and knowing that the truth always speaks louder than anything that can be shared by somebody else about you. And you can spend a lot of energy fretting and worrying over somebody else's words, when ultimately all you have power over is yourself, the way that you are, your thoughts, feelings, behaviours, the way that you speak words. And I do truly believe in the end, the truth will out. So over time, whether those words are said to the stepchild in that situation, they are not daft. They will pick up on energy, the words behind things, the nuances, and they will make up their own minds. If you are consistent in the way that you are, the way that you behave, the way that you support, the way that you show up to that child, ultimately, that is what's going to make the difference in the long run. And I think it's the feeling for human beings which we grapple with the most is unfairness. It's like, that's not fair. It's that kind of inner child in all of us that says, but that's not fair. She is saying that about me, and that's not the truth.
And should you bother going in to defend yourself on it? Or are you better to just kind of think they can say whatever they like? I know what's true.
And that is down to the individual. I know what I would prefer. I know I'd like to, and maybe I might express my truth in the beginning and say, you know what, your words are not the truth. This is not the reality. You think the way that you want to think. think about the way that you impact other people and the children. I know my truth, and then that's it. And then I stand firm in who I am, and dissolve out the noise of what else. It's a bit like, me advising my little boy the other week when words are being said about him that he doesn't feel are true for him. And I'm saying the more that you show and give energy to that person and show that you're bothered, the more they're going to do it. And I think, as even in these grown-up situations, the more that we show that we are affected by that, the more that person engages with it and enjoys it and carries on. And I think protect your energy at all costs.
Yeah, you're right. You kind of, it's when you're in it, it's so difficult, but when you're not in it, it's much easier to say, just step away from it, just let them chunter away with all their negativity, and I'm going to step away from it. I mean, I loved what you said about breathing, and it's so simple, but it's something that's massively helped me in all sorts of situations, just to learn to take a breath and to actually, I'm one who likes rationality. I'm quite cynical sometimes. So I love the fact that we know, okay, that actually sends signals to our brain and it does things chemically, and it is fact, like that will help. And it's something everybody can do anywhere. And
it's so simple. Like, you can do it anywhere. And I think the simple things often get forgotten because we always think it should be something bigger, something greater. But actually, no, if all you can remember to do in that moment is to take a deep breath and then take another deep breath and then take another one, you are winning. You are doing some real positive good for yourself and in that situation.
Brilliant. So I've got another one here. It's about what some people refer to as ugly emotions. So I'll hear from a lot of stepmums things like, I feel so resentful because the only part of my life that's really stressful and really difficult is around my stepchildren, be that the stepchildren themselves, be it the ex, be it other circumstances, whatever. So they feel resentful, and then they get overwhelmed by guilt because they feel really guilty about feeling resentful. Same with step-parents who will feel angry about a situation, either something unfair to do with their situation or something else, and then they'll feel guilty about the anger. So have you got any tips for how you either manage those difficult emotions or are kinder to yourself about having them?
Yeah, absolutely. And so at its root, we need to remember that emotions are actually energy in motion. Okay, they are feelings that are meant to pass, be felt, and then moved on. Okay.
Why has nobody told me this before?
I know. Right, it's such a nugget. If we can all understand that emotions are there to be felt, and energy in motion needs to move through you, out of you. Now, the issues arise when we judge them, when we resist them, when we hang on to them. That's when they become this word that we call ugly, right? This is when we think, I don't want to feel those feelings, because we judge emotions as good or bad, or I should feel this, or I shouldn't feel that. And that in itself is something that is, society builds within us, right? As a child, good boy, good girl, this, that, no, don't feel this, don't feel that. Distraction is another key, right? People distract themselves when they feel something they don't want to feel. I am all about letting people feel that feeling so they can move it through. So don't judge yourself, first of all. Try not to judge yourself. Or when you notice you're judging yourself, you go, oh yeah, I'm doing that thing again, I'm judging. It's okay for me to feel angry about this situation. It's okay for me want to have a rant about it for a short amount of time. Okay, let's not do this forever, because then we're going to spiral those feelings of anxiety as well. My other tip is try to avoid saying I am when you describe how you're feeling. Okay, so I am angry, I am so resentful. That, on a subconscious level, is saying to your subconscious, I am those things, right? It is my identity to be those things. So instead, notice your language and shift it to, I feel about this situation. So it's a detachment, it's an emotion, it's not you. I feel angry about this situation. It is a feeling that is with me right now, but it's going to move on. And so the game isn't to escape emotions. It's not to escape this resentment and this guilt that we feel. It's to notice it and then notice where it comes from. It goes back to this awareness again. Resentment builds when you don't express how you feel, or you don't feel like you have a choice or a say in a certain situation. Now, we can't feel resentful for somebody not allowing us to speak our truth if we never do that. Yeah, it's the same with boundaries, right? We say we want to protect our boundaries, but we don't get clear on what our boundaries are to begin with, and we don't share those with other people. And then we let them walk all over our boundaries, and then we feel resentful because they did that.
Yeah.
Right? So energy in motion, it's meant to move through. And there's some beautiful ways of doing that. Going for a walk whilst talking on the phone to somebody, your best friend, having a good rant about the situation whilst moving, right, is great. You're moving your body, which is accessing different parts of your brain also, and you are literally moving that energy out of you. Another way that some of the listeners might have come across is tapping. So emotional freedom technique, or EFT. There's a chap called Brad Yates who is awesome. I did this yesterday morning when I was feeling something that I didn't necessarily want to feel, as in like I was like, oh, I'm not going to sit with this for too long. I'm going to notice it. I'm going to say it's okay to feel this way, but I'm ready to let this through now. And so I just went onto YouTube, just literally put in Brad Yates, and it comes up with a 10-minute video on how to literally physically tap on meridian points in your body that allows you to release the energy from your system.
Oh my God, I love this.
It's amazing, Katie. It's so cool. And it is one of those things where if you think about it too much, you might talk yourself out of it, but you do it and it works and you go, boom.
Yeah.
I literally released in 10 minutes. I had a good cry. I literally felt it shifting through me. And by those 10 minutes over, I was like, oh, okay. Well, that would have taken me all day if I'd not done that.
Yeah. And you can do those sorts of things anywhere. They're free.
Anything.
Once you've learned how to do it, it's all in your gift. And I think those types of little things that we can do, because, you know, most of the people listening will be busy, either working in the home or working out of the home, but definitely working. Busy people who don't have time always to do 3 hours of yoga and 5 months of therapy.
Yeah, we want these little tools in our armory, and I can just do something in 5-10 minutes and then I can feel better now.
So that's so helpful to understand a little bit about how to get those emotions through your system. I love that energy in motion. Does that then help with the guilt of feeling them because you've got rid of them? Because sometimes I feel like actually it's not the feelings that we have that are the problem. It's the feelings that we have about the feelings that we have.
It's the judgment, isn't it? It's the judgment of those feelings in the begin with that then leads on to those other feelings of guilt. Because if we didn't judge them in the first place and we said, it's okay to feel this way, this is a really tough situation, if we allowed us to feel the initial emotion and to move it through, yeah, absolutely, then feelings of guilt wouldn't necessarily arise because we wouldn't have to ruminate on it afterwards. Okay, so guilt is one of the most pointless emotions out there. It's one of those things where you could spend so much time and energy and headspace on guilt, and it would just continue and continue and continue unless you intercept that. So let's practice a different way. Let's try to become aware of how we feel earlier and allow that space, give that airtime. So if you feel angry, don't judge it. It's not a, in quotation marks, bad emotion to feel. It's not. We've been just taught that since a child not to feel angry. Anger is just as valid as happiness and sadness and all these other things. Anger has a purpose. It's telling you that something is not sitting right in your system. It may be going against your values or whatever. And it needs to be spoken. It needs to be aired. It's a very physical emotion. It kind of courses through your system. And so again, this energy in motion principle is great to apply here. If you feel angry, it's not just shouting, it's moving your body and getting out and doing a fast walk. You are moving that energy, shifting into something else.
That's so interesting. And it makes a lot of sense. Whenever I'm feeling angry about something. If I do a workout, I will really enjoy the workout a lot more than normal. And that makes complete sense.
So I remember when my mum, when I was younger, used to do angry cleaning, right? And I think that's brilliant because she would be frantically wiping sides and hoovering. And it's like actually exactly what she's meant to be doing. Okay. So she's expressed her emotion. She's doing something with a focus and she's moving quite fast. And it is moving it out of your system. And it's the same way as going and doing a workout or going for a fast walk, but it is a physical emotion. So allow it to that physical movement.
Really, really interesting. Okay, so I have got another one. And I think maybe it's something we have talked a little bit about, but how do you manage it when other people's views and judgments of you really affect you?
It begins with us. Okay, so if we are clear on who we are, and if we are not judging ourselves in that way, how can someone else's judgments affect us, essentially? But often we get triggered by somebody else judging us, which is triggering something within us that we may feel about ourselves. Maybe we go, actually, what is it that bothers me most about what they're saying? Why does it even bother me that they say that? When we're in the mindset and the mode of, they're saying this about me, it's unfair, how dare they? Essentially, we are in victim mode. We are giving away our power to that person and saying we have no responsibility or choice or control over the situation. If we can just shift that lens and say, well, if I chose to look at this slightly differently and begin with, why does it bother me so much? Why does it bother me so much what this person is saying about me and what they think? What is the truth to me? Get really clear on what the truth is to you, right? And if you can work on you at that thought level and feel good, if they're saying, I don't know, can you think of an example, Katie, of what the other mother or father might say about the stepmum?
I hear a lot of women say, oh, the ex says the rules in our house are ridiculous, or, you know, they're way too strict. And what a stepmom will feel is she's just setting appropriate boundaries in her own home.
Okay, great. So you get back to the truth of, you know, why does it bother me what this person who isn't part of our immediate setting in this home, why does it bother me what they think? And then get back to the truth of it. This is our home, our space. We have set these boundaries because we believe that they're healthier. You know, they make for a happier home in our environment. That is my truth. So instead of giving your energy away to, oh my God, how dare he, that's untrue, that's not fair, who are they to say this? This is all just energy giving, right? I'm going to give you, and I'm going to stir myself up in my head, and I'm going to ruminate on why, how dare they, etc.
Yeah.
When you come back to, okay, breathe. What is important here? What is really important here? Actually, that we know what our boundaries are in our home. We know what the rules are in our home because they work for us. So who cares? I'm going to release this from my energy system now. I'm going to just stop bothering. And every time I notice myself get bothered by it, I'm going to say, stop, enough. We're happy and healthy in our home. That's the way we do things here. So each time you're affirming back to yourself really clearly what the truth of the situation is. So again, you are wiring your brain to go default that way next time. So defaulting less to drama and more to, no, this is just what we do here.
Yeah. And you hear a lot of women talk about there's so much drama. A lot of people will say to me, why can't things just be simple? It's never easy. The most simple arrangements just create a massive drama. And I think that can be so difficult for people to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've definitely been there myself. And what I realized was I was totally giving away my power. I was allowing this to come into my world at the drop of a hat. So, for example, a text message through, I was at work, I was in the middle of my day, I was having a good day, and all of a sudden a text would come through to say, the arrangements are changing. whatever, this isn't happening anymore, something you were relying on. And instantly I would engage in that drama. Until actually it was a best friend, and this would happen by email as well, by the way. So not only by text, but by email. And so I would respond, and it would be this dance. Okay. So the way that I've learned about drama now is it's pretty much a dance. You do this, I do that. You do this, I do that. And we're going to dance this dance until somebody chooses to step out of that dance. And the way that I did that in the beginning was, again, because a best friend was hearing me say this, and then this happens, and then that happens. And I was in drama mode, and I was in victim mode. And she said, why don't you just get a completely separate phone for him? And I was like, and then she followed up with, and why don't you get a completely separate email account for him? So that you don't check that phone or that email account unless it's on your terms. It's not, this person can no longer access you in the middle of the day and change the course of things. And it was like peace just came over me. And so I understand that might not be a solution for everybody, all of the listeners, right, all of the time. But what if you had a variation on that? Like, how could you create more boundaries in place to limit the amount of drama and when it happens? And if that does happen, you choose when you look at that or engage with that.
I think that's such a good piece of advice, because anybody can set up an additional email account for free, and you can have all of those discussions there, and you can go to that email account when you're in the right headspace, not when you're about to run into an important meeting, or hopefully I guess this is where it relies on respectful parents on the other side. Hopefully they can respect that and understand that, yes, if there's an emergency, you can always text a mobile phone, but let's keep the other things somewhere else.
But it is your responsibility to keep affirming that boundary. Okay, so if somebody then doesn't listen to, oh, I want you to email me, this is the clear boundary, I need you to email me, unless it's an emergency, then you can text. Now, if they keep texting and you engage with it, you've just allowed them to break your boundary. But if they keep texting and they don't get a response, they will learn that they can't access you that way. So they will go to the email account. But I hear time and time again, and I've seen this myself, is people go, but they don't do it. They don't listen to me. And I'm like, did you reply back? Yeah, well, I had to. No, you didn't have to. Okay. So you, again, it takes some embedding of these boundaries to begin with, but the person will always test you on those boundaries to begin with. They just will, until you are so clear on it that it just becomes a given that that's the way you will respond to that situation.
Yeah, such good advice for anybody who is a step parent, I guess, or who has a child with somebody else. You're going to have to communicate with this person forever, unfortunately, sometimes. How do you manage it so it's less stressful for you and probably less stressful for them, which is only going to be a good thing? Like, nobody wants their child's other parent feeling stressed out, because then they're not going to be a good parent to your child. I think sometimes a lot of women will say, my partner's ex thrives on the drama, she just won't leave us alone. And it is interesting, because you do hear a lot, and there has been research done to show that actually when an ex moves on, the stepmom gets an easier life.
Absolutely. It is an absolute blessing, especially when that new partner is somebody that you've instantly warmed to or can trust, and you're like, oh, peace be with me, because it absolutely does become a lot quieter.
Yeah. And we hear that time and time again. Okay, so I've got another one for you. And again, a lot of women wrote about this as well. How can you stop yourself feeling jealous of your partner's ex? So, for example, I'll hear from a lot of women who say, we're pregnant with our first child, but he's already had a baby, and I feel upset that it's not his first time to have a baby, or I feel jealous that they've done things together that we haven't done together. How can women get themselves out of that cycle of feeling jealous?
It's around your choice, okay? Because you have a choice in how you want to feel about a situation. And if you are feeling jealous and you're feeling upset about that as a situation, you've got to decide, is this the way that I want to be? Is this the way that I choose to be? Right? Or is there a new perspective here? Because you cannot change the facts. You cannot change the fact that they've already had a baby. In any scenario, in any relationship, people will always have history. And there are many different blends of family now, as we know. I've been there myself where those thoughts have come into my head where, I will never have that situation where I'll be completely brand new in a relationship. I mean, you have two parents have a baby together and then you stay together and blah, blah, blah. If I stay in that, oh, that's unfair, I'm so jealous, that never happened to me, I wish it did, I'm not living in the present moment. I'm limiting the amount of happiness that is available to me. So you have a choice. Do you keep thinking those thoughts that fuel that way that you feel? Or when you notice those thoughts coming in, oh, I wish that, do you say, okay, that is completely valid, but I am choosing again now. It's completely valid that I feel that way. I honor the way that I feel about that. However, I can't change this reality. So I choose again.
Yeah.
I choose now to build a healthy, happy, loving home for my baby and my partner, and for us to be that family unit. Because we all know that, just because we imagine a situation beforehand, clearly that wasn't the best situation for them anyway, because they moved from it.
Yeah.
It wasn't roses. It wasn't a Disney movie.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I mean, I've never experienced that jealousy thing myself. I'm not a jealous person by nature, but definitely haven't experienced it with regards to the ex. And I was chatting to a woman the other day who was saying about, but he's already had a baby with somebody else. And I thought that's so interesting, because when I met my partner, we'd both already had children with somebody else and we had a child together. But when I had my baby with him, I was so excited because it was my baby with him. And I never for a second compared it to my first child. So I know that people don't really think like that, but I can see why women in it are feeling like that. And it's almost the stories that you tell yourself, isn't it?
That's exactly it. So if you allow yourself to continue with those stories and to feel something for a reality that is not possible to you, then you're going to be miserable. So it is a choice. Do you allow yourself to feel miserable for longer, or do you choose to make the best of the situation that you have? Not discounting or judging the way that you felt. Give it space, give it airtime, and then start to say, no, I've gone through this. I'm choosing my new reality now, and I'm going to make the best of this, and it's going to be wonderful. And then you focus on, get your Raz to look at what all the best situations could be, and look at what's going well, and then you'll reinforce more of that and build that picture for yourself.
Yeah, such good advice. Right. I mean, I've got so many. I'm going to pick one more question for you. We've talked a little bit about boundaries. I had a question from a lady around, how do you continue to manage boundaries when the biological mother refuses to accept them?
Okay, so you can still hold your boundaries, but you really need to get clear on what your absolute non-negotiables are, right? Not just in an ideal world, what would we love the way things to be, your actual core non-negotiables. And then you need to be really clear on yourself of, what are you willing to compromise on? What are you not willing to compromise on? And then if that situation is those boundaries are still not respected, and they are still important to you, and they are real kind of life-limiting stuff is going on when they're not respecting them, then you have to choose which route you go down. Seeking legal advice from family lawyers, all of those things, as much as we want to avoid them, sometimes when those boundaries are repeatedly not being respected, that is the way forward. But you still have a choice. You don't have to just go, well, they get the final say and forevermore. that'll be the way it is. But you have to go back to scratch and say, have we really clearly expressed what our boundaries are?
And would you recommend that sometimes, so, in this particular situation, one of the things that this woman was finding really difficult was that at drop-offs, which were on the doorstep of the house, the ex would always belittle or say horrible things or make snarky comments to either the stepmum or her partner, which then the child would hear. And obviously, everybody sensible knows it's not good for your child, but people still do it. So would you kind of advise maybe putting some of those things in writing and saying, like, you will not talk to us like this?
So in dealing with someone like that, the more that you engage at the emotional level, the more that they're going to keep doing that. So if you tell them off like a child, in my experience, they're going to behave like a child. There's something in kind of psychology and communication styles called transactional analysis, where you talk about the way that you approach somebody and what ego state they're in. So I'm going to skip ahead and say, like, we're either in child, parent, or adult. So if they are being a child and you go in at a parent level and say, you will not, you must not, they're going to dial more up on the child.
Interesting.
What we want to get to is where we're having an adult to adult conversation, and adults are not driven in this style. Okay, they are factual. They try to be more neutral. They try not to say things that would be inflammatory, that sort of thing. So in, again, my experience of dealing with this, the best way I found to do it is to do it in a more factual way and at a more adult level. So you go in with we have noticed that, right? So instead of you will not, we have noticed that handovers have become a little bit, and then, find a word that is not inflammatory, a little bit more tricky at the moment. We have noticed that there's comments being made, which results in this, which results in the child feeling or saying that they feel this way. I wonder if we might, it's that kind of language. They are an adult, no matter how, poorly they behave at times, going in at that adult level. Now, that's not to say the first time that you do that, they're not going to come back with a childlike response.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're used to. Remember the dance, right?
Yeah.
They're used to this, I'm the child, you're the parent, I'm the child, you be a child. We all kind of snark at each other. And I always practice this as well. Previously was writing out the email, stepping away from it and going back to it and thinking, what are the actual key facts here? If for somebody completely unemotionally attached to the situation was to write this email, what would be the key things that they would be saying? That would be child focused. So you take the emotion out of it.
And I think that's so important, because it's almost thinking about your kind of energy in motion, like don't respond when you're angry to things, like get that out of you and go back to it. And I know times when my partner's been on the receiving end of a difficult message or something, let's say, and he's sort of started to fire back, and I'm like, just breathe. There's no need to throw out a red rag right now. No response is also a response.
Absolutely, yeah. As much as the other person demands it, there is no time frame for responding, right? As much as they might say, I want to know by tomorrow, you can say that all you want, but I will choose to respond on my terms. I used to read the emails, get triggered by it, write my ranty response, which was my expressing my energy and emotion, right? And always save it to drafts. And then I would go back to it and I'd go, okay, what is the information that's not required here? Delete, delete. And I'd literally often come out with 3 things left in it, which were the facts of the situation. And then without emotion, I would just pad out those little facts a little bit. That is it. And I learned to do that over and over and over again. And over a short amount of time, actually, I got less and less emails. I got less and less drama because I wasn't giving back. I wasn't stepping into the mode of defending myself over and over and over again. It was just, what are the facts of the situation? What does a completely unattached person say about this situation?
Yeah.
What is the child focus here? And that's it. So much more liberating and freeing when you can step away from that.
I think it is as well. And then you're almost creating the narrative yourself. Like sometimes you feel like you have so little control, but I think actually we do have more control than we think we do.
Absolutely. I 100% agree in that. And it's when you get back to what control you do have, you can bring more peace back into the situation, because we all have responsibility in these scenarios, and we all have a choice in how we play in that scenario. Yes, as I say, the behavior of that person might not alter initially when you do it for the first time, because they're going to think, oh, they're not dancing this dance anymore. I'm going to put the next step forward and expect you to do the same. And you just meet them with no, I'm not dancing this dance anymore.
Mm.
So you step away, you step out of it, and then this new way of being can come forward, and it is like a weight off when you realize that you have more control than you think, and that you get to choose also. It can be quite liberating in this situation.
And I think so many of the things that you've said that are such practical things that women can do for themselves in the moment, just to either say enough, take a breath, remember that actually it's okay to feel any feeling you're feeling. Like,
yeah.
I hear so many women say to me, I thought I was an awful person because I felt like this.
Yeah.
And that makes me so sad, because I think, biological mums have many, many of these feelings, but they never feel, or they feel a lot less like a bad person, because it's that whole societal narrative that goes with, really supporting biological mums, but not in the same way as we do stepmums. So I love so much of this practical stuff, and just I've learned a lot. I'm going to embrace Raz, who's my new best friend. And just a massive, massive thank you for everything that you've shared today. It's been so cool speaking to you. And I'd love to have you back on again one day, because we've only got through about 20% of the questions.
Absolutely. Absolute pleasure. I hope someone's listening today that can kind of take away some little nuggets, whether they just try one thing or two things, is going to make a change. It only takes a small step. So just have a listen, see what resonates with you. I always say take a shopping trolley approach. So leave on the shelf today that what isn't for you, and take off the shelf and put in your basket just one thing or two things that you're going to try that is going to support you to feel better in the situation that you're in now.
Yeah, and I've got to go and find out who Brad Yates is, because that sounds fascinating. I'm all up for trying anything to sort of focus the mind and manage your own emotions. I think is just game changing, and also it helps you be in a better space to be what you need to be for your family and yourself.
Yeah. And all of these things, we're talking about being a stepmom, but this is all about life, right? This is about being a human being. So you can apply it to any situation in your life.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Kate, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Wow. I adored every moment of that chat. So much brilliant advice to take out. I think I need a cuppa with Kate at least once a week. There are so many practical things in there that I really hope will help you. If you are interested in self-development and tools to help you improve your own life and your stepmom journey, then do check out our new selection of workshops at www.stepmumspace.com. In our bespoke sessions, you will meet other stepmums and work through your own challenges in a non-judgmental environment using accredited coaching and psychological techniques. There are lots of different sessions available, so get yourself to www.stepmumspace.com/workshops to find out more and sign up. Now, as this is the last episode of Series 2, do hit the subscribe button in your podcast app and follow us on Instagram at stepmumspace so you are notified when new episodes go live. Thank you for all your support, messages and chats this series. It has been brilliant, and it means the world to me to know that this is helping women out there. Whatever you're going through, I promise you, you are not alone. See you soon.